Well, next to something perhaps all of us should talk about more: mental health. It's currently Mental Health Awareness Week. It's aimed at tackling the stigma that stops people, and particularly men, speaking out about how they need help before it's often too late. There were 244 suicides in the North East in 2016, and 3/4 of those were men. Suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 45 in the UK.
A new support group for men in County Durham recently received lottery funding to expand their work, and now they're releasing a series of hard-hitting films to try to encourage others to come forward and share their feelings. Here's our social affairs correspondent, Tom Sheldrick.
Paul is 53. He's kept mental ill health hidden for most of his adult life, but 5 years ago, going through a divorce and redundancy, he was diagnosed with severe depression.
It's absolutely horrendous. It takes all the joy out of your life. You know, you just stop enjoying basic things, you know, socialising, you know, I stopped eating, sleep was really bad.
Earlier this year, Paul set up ManHealth, a weekly support group here in Shildon for men struggling with their mental health.
I think there's a huge issue in the North East around the culture that we have in the North East and the masculinity side of things. I think men would see it as a sign of weakness to ask for help.
So it's about encouraging men to take that first step?
Yeah, that's what we want. If we can be a stepping stone to get these men some sort of professional help, that's got to be a good thing.
Just go away. You don't mean that. I do. No, you don't.
This is the first in a series of videos from Paul's social enterprise, showing the symptoms of depression and persuading people to seek help.
Yeah, I want Jeff. Well, he doesn't want to talk to you.
Tom is 28 and a social worker from Darlington. He's had depression since he was a teenager.
I felt like an emptiness, that I wasn't good enough, that I felt I was overcritical on myself. I still am now, but and I felt that everyone was judging me, and I didn't want to open up to anybody because I thought, how are people going to take it? Are they going to treat me differently?
But over the last 6 weeks, Tom is among more than 100 men who've received support.
I know everybody in that room has had lived experience of depression or some mental health problem, so that it's a comfortable, safe space for me to be able to share my story or listen to others and see how they've dealt with their mental health, see if there's anything I can take from that.
The big lottery fund will now help ManHealth expand from one support group to more than 20 around County Durham. There is no quick fix, but they hope to encourage many more men to share and fight mental ill health together. Tom Sheldrick, ITV News.
Well, Lawrence Butterfield is a registered mental nurse from Gisborough and also an advisor about mental health to scriptwriters of radio and TV dramas. Lawrence, thanks very much for joining us. You have a personal reason for choosing mental health as your career. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, Pam. When I was a young boy, my father had mental health problems in the village where I was growing up here in the North East, and there was a lot of stigma around at the time regarding mental health, and I suppose that stuck with me, and that drove me on to, when I become 18, 19, I moved down to London, and I wanted to train to be a qualified mental health nurse to try and understand about the condition that my father had, and to try and understand why people are stigmatised with mental illness.
We do seem to have a problem. Men feel very stigmatised here in the north. Why is it so much so in the north, and therefore why is it so hard for people to open up and talk?
I think there's a number of reasons, Pam. I think that the area is renowned for being a tough, hard, industrialised region. And I think there's a culture around big boys don't cry. You know, it's a sign of weakness to show your feelings. And I think, unfortunately, that sort of prevents people from seeking help. So men are less likely to be open about their mental health because of the cultural influences, and also it's a region where we have high rates of poverty, social exclusion, and they all equate to poor mental health.
So we've seen how ManHealth is helping men by giving them somewhere to get together and meet others who are experiencing the same sort of difficulties. It seems to be having a very positive result. Why isn't this peer-to-peer approach used more widely?
Again, I think there might be some denial, really. There might also be an acceptance. People might think, well, there is help out there, and men are actually going to see the GPs, and men are seeking, and there might be a sort of a misunderstanding that people are seeking help when they're not, and there might also be a lot of denial. My understanding is there are some support groups in other areas, and certainly in the North East there's one in Redcar, where I live, and there's also Mental Health in Stockton, which is a peer support group. So there are other groups running at the moment.
How important is it to be able to talk and hopefully get better or at least manage your condition?
Well, I think it's critically important, Pam. I think we're talking about lives here, saving lives, and I think what could be more important than that? I think it's absolutely crucial that men are more open about their mental health and that they seek support, and they don't see it as a sign of weakness, but they actually see it as a sign of strength.
It's a very good message. Being able to talk is a sign of strength. Lawrence Butterfield, thanks very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Pam.
And if you'd like more information about those groups that we were talking about, you can find it on our website, itv.com/Tyne Tees.